Hey everyone, and welcome to the Uncorked Corner podcast. Today, Nick and I are excited to welcome Jeff from the Holy Donut in Maine. We are so excited to talk to you about all the sweet stuff you have going on, pun intended. If you could give us a little bit of insight as to who you are and how you got started in your space, that would be awesome.
Yeah, sure. Well, first, thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys inviting me on here. My name is Jeff. I'm a CEO and co-owner at the Holy Donut, and originally from Indiana. I moved to Maine in the late '80s and went to high school and college up in Orono, and wound up in the donut business after my sister-in-law Lee Kellis founded the Holy Donut. We opened in 2012 in Portland at our Park Avenue location. And I joined the team, I guess, summer of 2013, and we make circles for a living, and we enjoy it. We have fun, and we have a great team. We have three locations currently: one in Auburn, one in Portland, one in Scarborough, and we're getting ready to open our fourth location on Commercial Street, hopefully by the end of the month.
Great. So I found out I moved up to Maine from Boston a couple of years ago and found out about you guys and had you for the first time. And one thing that I didn't expect was I had never heard of potato donuts before.
Mm.
So tell us a little bit why that is the donut niche that you fell into. Why that's kind of where you gravitate to. Maybe a little bit of some of the flavors or kind of what the potato donut provides for textures compared to, I guess I would call it more of a yeasty, like cakey donut.
Yeah, well, people are usually there's usually two types of donuts people will encounter, and that's cake donut and a yeast donut. Ours is more on the cake style, but we add, to your point, we add we call riced potatoes. It's a parboiled potato that we put through a ricer, and it comes out like little pieces of rice, and we add that directly to the dough. And it's going to provide more moisture, a little bit different mouthfeel. It's a little bit more substantial and provides these lovely little air pockets in the donut whenever it's cooked, and it's really unique. And so, watching people try it for the first time is always really cool. They're always really surprised by the mouthfeel and the texture that the donut provides. And we have, I mean, gosh, in our archive, we probably have 50 different flavors. And we have about 7 different base types of dough. We have our traditional old-fashioned dough. We have vegan. We have our dark chocolate dough. We have sweet potato. We have blueberry. We have apple. And then we get into gluten-free as well. That's an ever-growing segment for us. And we play around with the glazes. We don't do anything artificial. No artificial preservatives, sweeteners, additives, no dyes, nothing like that. So it's very much what we feel is a really wholesome product that you can feel good about treating yourself to.
And they're definitely delicious. I've tried a bunch of flavors up there. I know at work we always end up having them for company parties and everything brought in. Toasted coconut, I'd say, is probably my favorite. I'm very particular for coconut, and that one's whether the regular or the chocolate one. That one
dark
hits
chocolate coconut's kind of always on the top of my favorites list. That one's pretty decadent and pretty awesome.
And another cool thing that I saw you guys did, and I actually got to try probably a couple years ago now, is you guys did a collaboration with Lone Pine on that, and they made I think it was like a toasted coconut imperial stout with your donuts. And when I went to pick it up at the tasting room, they actually had the donuts there with it. Got to try them side by side, which is a cool experience.
Those guys are super cool, man. We've been partnering with them here for 2 or 3 years now, and I think we're on our 9th or maybe 10th different beer with them that we've collaborated with them. And we've started to get into the hard seltzer world with them. They launched their first hard seltzer with us with our the margarita. They made them with our margarita donuts. Super cool company. There's so much synergy between us. Tom Madden, the owner, is just fantastic, and their company's super cool. So we'll get together, and they'll come over and make donuts, and we'll go over there and get messy and make beer. And it's a really cool collaboration. It's an awesome partnership.
That's incredible. And obviously donuts can be a little on the sweeter side. Obviously some aren't, some are. I guess some are a little bit more on the savory side of things. Yeah. But when it comes to a donut inspired beer, what does that, I haven't had the chance to try it, Nick has. So can you tell me a little bit about what makes it so different from others?
In terms of on the beer side, what makes the beer different? That's a great, I just like beer. It's really good. All right. So, what we do, so the process is that, whenever they, and they kind of cook up in the mad genius way, the different types of beer that they want to do and they want to buy. So almost all of them make the cut. We just kind of let them go and do their thing. They're really good at it. So we go over and they usually order somewhere, 200 to 300 donuts, and we'll go over and they'll just kind of let them ferment in with, I guess it's the wort. I'm going to get all my terms mixed up here. But I think it imparts a little bit of the flavor of the donut. That coconut really came through in the dark chocolate coconut stout. We did one with pomegranate, and so that really kind of came through. In terms of the chemistry, you're asking the wrong dude. I don't know anything about that. But in terms of, there's really nothing different in the mouthfeel, but the color is going to change a little bit, and you get a little bit of hint of some of the different spices and flavors that we'll have in the donut, and they do a really good job at marrying those two.
And we love beer and we love donuts. How do beer and donuts mesh together?
How do they come together?
Will you eat them together?
I certainly did. It was delicious when I got to, so I'm always going to be a proponent of that as well. I don't think you can go wrong.
No, you can't. No, they're two great tastes that taste great together, I suppose.
Yep. And I think so for the collaborations, that's the only one. The coconut one's the only one that I actually tried with the Lone Pine one. So can you give us a rundown of some of the others? I know you mentioned there was a pomegranate one that you did.
Yeah, we did a triple berry double IPA with them. We've done a lemon sour. We did a blueberry sour with them. So we did another. We did a coffee cake stout with them as well. The others are escaping me at the moment, so I apologize. But yeah, I think we're up to about 9 now, and are now distributing them. I want to say to about 12 to 15 states throughout New England, and so we have some plans downstream for a cool collaboration that I won't let out of the bag, but there's more to come on that front.
All right, we'll have to keep our eyes out on that one.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that kind of crossing state lines there that I want to ask about is every time I see a Holy Donut, I've been to the Scarborough location and I've been downtown when you guys were at Exchange Street, I believe it was, and there's always a huge line. People are always lining up to get it. Do you find it's mostly, I guess, a local hotspot with people that come around often, or do you think it's really attracts a lot of tourists? Do you see a lot of out-of-staters coming in to try their donuts when they come up to visit?
We do. We've been, super fortunate. First we owe, such a huge debt of gratitude to the local folks here. They've really what helped us launch. The support that we've gotten from the Portland market and the surrounding areas has just been humbling, to say the least. But certainly, we're very grateful to be on a lot of tourists to-do list whenever they come into town. And you're right, that Exchange Street store really, pardon me, did a really good job at kind of really getting our brand some national exposure. As Portland really started to take off and become a destination as opposed to maybe a stop on the way to go play in Northern Maine, people really dug it. It's funny, we the Exchange Street store, if you've ever been there, it's super teeny tiny. There's probably 300 square feet in the front of that place. And we used to call it the mosh pit. Because it would just be like shoulder to shoulder, people grabbing glaze and donuts going everywhere. It was bananas. But yeah, they were willing to wait in line, and it's been a really cool and humbling deal to see people gravitate to us and be on people's to-do list whenever they come visit Portland.
And you have several different locations. So what is it like with, you have a bunch of flavors.
Yeah.
Are they different across locations? Do you have ones that are set to certain locations, or do you have a mix everywhere of all your flavors?
We usually have a mix everywhere. I think in the early days, we would have some, differences between our lineup between the stores. But as we've grown and kind of grown up as a company a little bit, we tried to keep, each store having the same flavors. Outside of one of the things we used to do before the pandemic was in January/February, we used to do this thing called the Flavor 4. And it was so on our company Christmas party every year, each store would bring kind of their 2 flavors that they would play around with, right, to inspire a little creativity within the company. And so they would bring their flavors to the company Christmas party. At that point, we had 3 stores, and then we would take 2 suggestions from the internet, from social media. And so we would all kind of taste those and bring those down to 4 different flavors. And so then we would go to the store, and each week we would pair a flavor against each other, right? And the customers would come in, they would vote on it, and then we would bring that winner. Then we would do 2 different donuts the next week. And then the final week, we would kind of pair them off against each other. And then whoever won that, that would be our new summer flavor. And so during those times, we would have maybe some different flavors going on, but usually each store will have very similar flavors. Now, as the day wears on, certain flavors will sell out. And so you may have differing flavors at the different locations. But by and large, we try to keep them uniform so that the guest experience isn't hampered at any one location.
And you mentioned there too that that flavor 4 ended up being your summer donut, your new summer flavor. What other donuts that do you have that you do kind of seasonally that rotate around throughout the year?
Yeah, I think, well, right now we're kind of in the middle of blueberry season. So our blueberry donut is, certainly one of my top few donuts that we have each year. And we'll do some different variations on that. We'll do the blueberry cinnamon sugar. We'll do the blueberry lemonade donut, which is blueberry donut with lemon glaze on it. Come fall, we'll be getting more into, we always have our sweet potato donut, which began as a seasonal flavor. And then we kind of yanked it at the end of the season. There was a little bit of uproar among our customers, so we brought that back, and that one's a staple now. Our apple donut is probably my favorite. And oddly enough, it's our only donut that does not have potato. We kind of trade the apple starch for the potato in that one. And so we'll do a few variations of that one as well. And then we always try to have something for the holidays. We have a, strawberry donut that we'll roll out around Valentine's Day. We'll do our St. Patty's donut. Father's Day is usually one of my favorites. That's our blueberry maple bacon donut, which is just ultra decadent, right? If you're just feeling particularly gluttonous, you should try that one. But yeah, we try to change it up with the seasons, but we always try to keep something a little fresh and a little new.
And there's so many cool flavors. Here you run through this list. I'm like, oh, I tried that one, but there's all these other ones that I haven't gotten to try. I'm like, oh, I got to get down there more often and get some new ones instead of going back to the favorites. But that blueberry cinnamon sugar that you just mentioned, that one I haven't tried. That sounds phenomenal. Blueberry lemonade I have. That one's a good one.
Yeah, no, we're fortunate to be blessed with a lot of creative people in our company that love food and love to make delicious things, and so it keeps our customers on our toes.
And a lot of the flavors that you come up with, do they come from those internal sort of discussions and someone in one of the kitchens experimenting, or do you take a lot of input if maybe people on social media, customers and things are chiming in, I want this flavor, let's try this, and then you kind of run with it from there?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, we have some really cool mad geniuses within the company that like to play around with different flavors and things of that nature. But we're constantly getting bombarded from social on things that we should try. And, a lot of them are really cool, but, one of our challenges is we have to, be able to make that in mass, right? And so, we've got to be able to roll that out. We've got to be able to make it efficiently and quickly and timely. And it can't hold up the production of all of our other donuts. So that tends to thin the herd a little bit. But we do like getting, super creative and kind of letting our staff kind of run with things and play with them. And then we kind of run them through the wickets and let them flesh out and see which ones can, stand up to our quality test and our standards, but also that we can manufacture efficiently.
And I've seen a few of your staple flavors recently popping up in Hannaford's, at least around Maine, where I live. Is that allowing you guys sending those out to New Hampshire or Mass, any other stores? Is that kind of, or is that still local?
That was really a move for us during the pandemic to kind of pivot and follow the people. Some of our locations, unfortunately, and particularly Exchange Street, just got crushed during the pandemic. I mean, they're so dependent upon foot traffic and tourism. And we ultimately, and unfortunately, had to end up closing that location in October. So really, it was a move to make sure we can continue to keep our product in front of people. And so, it was Hannaford was great. They gave us really fantastic placement within their stores, and really, I mean, as challenging as it might be for a smaller company like us to do business with a big company like Del Hayes and Hannaford, it happened rather quickly. And so for us, it was doing a lot on the fly. It was kind of reminiscent to the old days of just figuring it out. We never, we had to kind of totally revamp our packaging and what we did there. And we don't have any preservatives in our product. So we really had to pick, the 3 or 4 flavors that, maintain their shelf life the best and their moisture content the best, that would stand up to, roughly a day and a half on the shelf. So we go in there every day and we replenish. So yeah, that's, downstream, some of the things we're going to be working on. We just acquired a new property in Arundel, where we have a production facility we're in the process of building out, and we'll have another retail that'll come online early Q1 of 2022. That'll allow for us to play around and try to extend shelf life a little bit naturally, right? We're not going to step on our brand here, but if we can extend that shelf life by a few days, that will allow for us to really enhance the spectrum of flavors that we have in the Hanford supermarkets and allow for us to go into more of them. We're in 10 now in the local kind of Portland metro area, but they're begging for more. And so we're a little bit capacity constrained, and we have a little bit of work to do before we can stretch too far.
Sounds like you guys are super busy, but it's all exciting stuff. So I can't wait to try them. I can't believe I haven't. I visited Nick a few times, and I guess it's always been just random sporadic times of the day. But speaking of, you work with donuts all the time. So what time of day do you find yourself most wanting to indulge?
It's usually a morning thing. I tend to make my rounds in the mornings at the shops, and it's kind of whatever flavors kind of speaking to me that day. It's hard to turn down a blueberry donut this time of year, and I've been known to scarf down an apple donut, maybe two, when those things come out and they're right out of the fryer and they're nice and hot. That's really hard to pass up. But it's like, which one of my kids is my favorite, right? It's hard to pick. And our staff does such a great job at delivering, a very consistent and delicious product every day. And that's part of the reason they don't allow me in the kitchen anymore. People are way better at making these things than I am now.
I asked because Nick and I, before we jumped on here, we're talking, and Nick said one of the only desserts he really enjoys is donuts. So it was kind of surprising to me because I prefer donuts in the morning. I think a lot of people think of donuts as a breakfast bite, but Nick over here is a case of his own. So
I'm not big into sweets and things. In my breakfast, I'll tend to go into, eggs and bacon. I'll lean more that way with my breakfast. But donuts are definitely a treat that I frequent. I love a donut. So I'm not afraid of them. I'll eat them any time of day. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're really good. And we've done some pretty cool collaborations with some other restaurants in that area. I know Marcy's Diner in Portland made some French toast out of a few of our flavors, where they'll cut them and kind of grill them and do a French toast thing out of them. I know None Such River Brewery does a sweet potato bread pudding or sweet potato donuts. I know Nosh used to, you take our vanilla donuts, cut them in half and use them in a burger. And so some of the local eateries have gotten pretty creative in terms of utilizing the product as well.
And when I was going through your website earlier too, I noticed you guys have a bacon and cheese filled donut, right?
Yeah.
I haven't tried it. See, there's the kind of donut that
if you're a savory dude, that's your breakfast item right there. Little bacon, little cheese. It's nice and crispy. It's with our old fashioned dough wrapped around it. We also came out this summer, I guess maybe it was the spring, with our broccoli cheddar. So same type of concept, but with broccoli and cheddar.
Yeah. So with the dough and that, just the old fashioned dough, I'm imagining it's not going to be quite as sweet and sugary as something else with a bunch of glaze or anything on it to kind of play more with those flavors, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, there's no glaze or topping or sugar or anything of that nature. So it lets the savory elements of the bacon and the cheese shine through.
Well, I know what I'm getting next time I come through.
There you go.
How many donuts, if you're allowed to share this, do you find yourself making every week?
Oh man, that's a good question. It depends on the week. I mean, our production is very seasonal with the flow, and so height of the summer. Let's say we had 3 shops roll. Let's say 2019, right before everything hit the fan. I would say, probably in the neighborhood of 100,000 donuts, maybe somewhere in that neighborhood. And that'll ebb, and I think in 19 we did just north of 2 million retail donuts, and if we did wholesale and things of that nature. So people are eating lots of donuts, thankfully.
It's a lot of donuts.
All made by hand from scratch every day. We still hand roll, hand cut, hand glaze, everything.
And so are those made, does every individual location make their own donuts, or are you making it one and bringing them to
They
the
do.
other local
That's-
locations?
I think a big part, I know I've spoken to accountants who are like, you're nuts. Like, why don't you just make them in one place and take them over there? But I think that's a big part of our brand is fresh, right? And so we want people to get that old world experience and they walk into one of our shops. And so we have one commissary kitchen in our Scarborough store, and they make all the dough, they make all the glaze, they make all the gluten-free product, right? So we can keep that sequestered whenever we're making it. And then all those things are distributed around to every store every day. And so every store will roll, cut, shape, fry, and glaze their own products every day, with the exclusion of gluten-free, and that's made on its own and then carried over so we can maintain that gluten-free status.
And with your donuts, are you always pairing them up with some coffee if you're having them in the morning?
Absolutely. That's one thing. I mean, we were partnered with Wicked Joe. They're fantastic. I think they make some of the best coffee around. Bob and his wife are just fantastic, and their coffee is on point. It's fantastic.
Yeah, we always have a bag or two of their stuff. I think First Tracks is what it's called, the yellow bag. That one's always on our rotation in our drip machine. But
no, again,
yeah.
Just another company with great synergies. They take really good care of their people. They do the right thing. They pay their farmers fair prices. They're certified free trade, and so we like to partner with people that choose to do the right thing, and they certainly do that.
What are some of the most unique flavors or surprising flavors that people wouldn't expect that you've come up with?
I think the one that people are probably most surprised with is our sweet potato ginger, which is rather unique. I think in the donut space, you don't see that flavor kicking around a lot. People always dig the blueberry maple bacon, kind of all those three of those things kind of melding together there. Our margarita donut's a really cool one that surfaced a few years ago. Our key lime donut is a really cool one. Pomegranate's one you don't hear a lot of in the donut space. And so, we try to have really nice, vibrant colors on the shelf where I think that those pop and, people eat with their eyes primarily. And so, we try to get, as clever and creative as we can, and still, delivering a product. The fact that we're all natural, we don't use any preservatives or dyes or anything of that nature. So all the colors are either, they're all done with vegetables or with fruit. And so beet juice is another thing we color a lot of our things with to get that vibrant red color. Triple berry is another good one. Raspberry, blueberry, strawberry. That one's I think a little bit unique out there. The bacon cheddar, the one that we were referring to earlier, that one's kind of cool and a little bit unique. But yeah, I think, people are like, ooh, ginger, really? I'm like, yeah, seriously, just try it, right? It's really just a hint of ginger, and that sweet potato dough is that's phenomenal. And we actually paired that recently with our coffee cake donut that used to be on our old fashioned dough. And we put that on the sweet potato, and we're like, oh man, that's just phenomenal. So those are some of the cooler, more.
It's another 3 donuts that I'm gonna have to go try now. I don't think I've tried a sweet potato one yet, or the coffee cake one either. And now I got to try the sweet potato coffee cake along with those 2 to get it. So
there you go.
I'm going to be in trouble after this. I'm going to have to make sure I'm doing a lot of running, be eating a whole lot of donuts. But
well, we say they're like negative calories, Nick. They're like eating celery, right? It's just,
that's what we hope, right? But in reality,
That's a good way to look at it. I mean, you can eat more than one usually.
It's potatoes. They're healthy, right? Sweet potatoes.
Right.
It's a healthy food.
It's a vegetable.
Right. They're so thankful, right? Absolutely.
Are there any surprising things or like fun facts about donut making that people wouldn't know?
That's a good question. Interesting facts. Well, I mean, I think, what people find, I guess speaking from, our teammates' perspective, I think when people first come and join with us, they're like, I think they feel like it's a lot more romantic than it actually is. Like, our people work their tails off, right? And they just grind. Now we have fun at work, and people enjoy themselves, and there's opportunities to get creative, but the majority of the time, they're just grinding in there. It's a lot of hard work. And we're blessed to have a lot of resilient and creative and hardworking people that pump out delicious circles. But it's it's hard work. And I think people maybe underestimate that when they maybe come in and they see everybody smiling and having fun and and being playful, which is something that's important for us. But at the end of the day, they're working their butts off.
And I'm sure that's an early day too to get all those donuts and made. I think it's most of your locations open like 5, 6 a.m. Right, so they got to have those donuts ready to go.
Open there 6 a.m. Varies a little bit by market, but in a lot of occasions, we have people showing up at 10 o'clock at night to get started for the next day in order to make enough donuts to feed the beast. So, and there were times, back in the earlier days when we only had 2 shops where, our Park Avenue shop never stopped. I mean, there was, 24 hours a day, somebody's in there doing something. But, it's an around the clock venture. Donuts, we have a term that, in the early days when it was, a lot of the family were in there and we were all in there kind of grinding and figuring it out and making mistakes and figuring out how to run a business. It's called donut tired, like getting home at the end of the day and you smell like a donut. You're just sitting down. You're like, I don't want to talk to anybody for a while. I just want to sit here, chill out. And, after a 12, 14-hour day, that's just, it's exhausting.
I'm sure it is. And you guys must work early hours, which Nick knows is not my strong suit. So kudos to you. You made me want a donut. Now I'm really craving a blueberry donut. So that's great. I'm going to have to make a trip. But before we wrap, can you tell us where we can find you online and on social media, and just remind us of your locations for anyone who is in the New England area?
Sure. We have our original location. It's located at 194 Park Avenue in Portland. We have our Scarborough location, which is at 398 US Route 1. It's at the corner of Route 1 and Haggis Parkway. We have our location in Auburn, which is at the corner of Hotel and Maine-Made Avenue at 848 Maine-Made Avenue. We opened that location in January. We'll be opening at 177 Commercial Street, the former Bill's Pizza location, by the end of the month. We should be open there with our new location. And then again, Q1 of 2022, you'll be able to find us on Route 1 in Arundel, just north of the Kennebuck line. You can find us at theholydonut.com. Check out all about our company and our flavors and what we do and our culture and what we're all about. You can find us at Holy Donut Maine on Facebook, and then at Holy Donut Maine on Instagram as well.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and talk to us tonight. We had a great time, learned a lot about your donuts, learned a lot about your new flavors. I'd recommend a few more to people that are listening, but there's so many that I want to try and that I've tried, so I can't recommend any in particular. So just go get yourself a whole box. I know I will be soon. It was so good to talk to you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys having me. Have a wonderful day.
Too.
Be sure to follow us on social at Uncorked Corner and on the blog at uncorkedcorner.com for a taste of more food and beverage content.
And if you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave a comment, subscribe, rate, and review on whatever podcast platform you prefer. Thanks for listening.